and hello, everybody. Welcome back for another episode, If Not Now When. In today's show, we are so excited to welcome our speaker, Raj Gopi, to join us today. Raj is co-founder at 212, a FinTech SaaS platform providing equity management and fund administration solution for founders from all over the world. Raj is very passionate today about supporting founders to build great company by sharing valuable lessons learned from his own experience as well as the multiple startups that he was part of. Beyond that, during his spare time, Raj also enjoyed driving his motorcycle through the hill country around Austin, Texas. With that, everybody, I am so excited and thank you so much, Raj, for joining us and welcome to the show. Well, Raj, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ben. Pleasure to be here.
Of course. So tell us, how does the journey begin for you?
So I'm originally from India, from a city called Bangalore, which most of you are familiar with. So I did my undergrad in India. I also did my graduation in India, and the trend in late '90s was U.S. was a destination for pretty much anyone in the IT field. And that's how I took. So my dream job coming out of school was getting into IBM, and so I got an IBM. And one of the first things they wanted me to do was, okay, let's start looking at projects in the US and move those over to India. And that's how I came on and didn't go back once I came in. Got stuck for various reasons.
Yeah.
But that's really the path to the US.
Then what happened? You come to United States?
Yeah. So just landed in Raleigh for the first time in North Carolina. So I was there for about 6 months.
Amazing.
And then went back to India for a year, and that's where I met my now wife, Rashmi. We worked at IBM together. And then in early '99, I came back to the US in Austin. And from there, I just remained in Austin. And briefly, I went to Washington, D.C. With a startup. And that company got acquired by Motorola, which spun off into Freescale, which was headquartered in Austin. So I ended up coming back to Austin. So
That's the first startup you were part of?
That's correct. Yeah, that is the first startup. I was one of the early employees there.
Let's take a moment to say how did that happen? At the time, IBM was your dream company.
That's
you
correct.
finally be part of the amazing corporation. You have a fancy job title. You got paid well. You travel the world. Why startup at the moment?
So I think what happened there was I got to a point. I was with IBM for about 5 years, and I got to do some very interesting projects there. The problem I kind of found myself in was I was getting too comfortable. And I felt that if I stayed at IBM for one more year, then it'd be very difficult for me to leave IBM. I felt that I was getting captured into the IBM comfort zone.
Do you want to be uncomfortable? Was it the intention?
Yeah, I think to me, like I've always wanted to be outside my comfort zone.
Why?
I think I don't know from bring up. I think at some point it's always okay. This is too comfortable. Something not right. It's too easy.
Yeah.
So I need to do something else. So it's something drives me. I don't know what it is. Like so I always have a constant drive to get into things that are not comfortable. So before I joined the startup, I joined Sun Microsystems because that gave me the opportunity to work on different projects, very interesting projects again. I was there for a couple of years, and that's when the startup thing happened. So one of my neighbors, he basically was relocating to join the startup, and that's how I got connected and tagged along. So
incredible. And how does that startup experience cut up for you? And when do you start think about you wanting your own business?
Oh, so for me, that particular startup was interesting because I saw the speed of execution. Like it was very result oriented. There was no red tapes anywhere. So it was. So I joined probably I think sometime in August of that year, 2002, and our target was CES, Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas in January. So
wow.
Yeah, so we had like a 4-month timeline
That's
to
crazy.
go build stuff from
Yeah.
scratch.
Yeah.
So it was a hardware company. We were building like wireless technology there.
Yeah.
And I just saw how that team kind of came together. It was just myself and a friend of mine, Deepak. So he was kind of driving all the hardware requirements, and I was putting all the software. But we were able to tap into like resources that would come in and help us rapidly prototype pieces. And we got into CES, and the project worked on the day of CES. So it was just
insane.
last minute project, and we won the best of CES that year. So it was totally wild to see how that worked. So to me, that experience was just amazing. That okay, you know what? You don't need a lot of resources. If you put mind to it, you can actually go capture the market. So we won 2 giant customers, and that led to the acquisition. And Motorola came into the picture, and Motorola then spun off into cell phone division and the semiconductor division.
Wow, was it such an eye-opening experience for you
It
the
was
first
just
time?
mind blowing. Yeah. So to me, it was about there is immediate payout from the execution. So and I remember this conversation we had with so we were working with Motorola. So we're putting a chip into one of the Motorola devices, mobile devices, and we were working with Motorola, and they wanted to kind of kill that project because they thought it was too risky, and we went into this call, and my friend Deepak, the way he communicated with Motorola in terms of, okay, hey, these are all the progress we've done. This is the status, and we are just building XYZ, and we are 2 weeks away from doing something else. So that basically flipped Motorola, saying that, you know what, okay, so it looks like there is a future here. Let's go put more money into this. So to me, it was almost taking a project that was almost dead, bringing it to life, and then winning that year's best new innovation award. So it kind of transpired quite a few feelings in me in terms of, okay, it is like how do you take a concept and pull in external parties, and these are like 2 different companies, but with different structures, and get the whole thing to work properly. So to me, it was just that experience was kind of mind blowing.
Incredible. So tell us now, with that inspiration, where do you go next?
So to me, so I was part of that the Freescale ecosystem for another 7 years.
Wow,
But I
which is
kind
a
of
long time to start out.
like so from the moment we got acquired, I kind of remained within the Freescale ecosystem. So I started getting into operations, and somewhere along the way, I got an MBA from UT Austin. What that let me become was a very good middle manager. So like I think in hindsight, I think MBA doesn't make you a good founder. But it can make you a great middle manager. So you totally appreciate what the upper management wants and what the engineering team wants, especially if you're engineering background. So to me, it was all about translating the business needs into what the product needs to be. So if you ask an engineer, they like to solve complex problems. Okay, but if there's only like $50 that would come out of that effort, whereas if you do something else, you may get $1 million in the effort. The engineer would tend to pick that $50 project just because it's much more challenging. So that bridge was kind of that gap was I was able to bridge that gap. But at the same time, like I quickly grew and started operating a very large organization within Freescale. So I think I have about 80 plus team members working for me worldwide.
Incredible.
But it was a very operationally intensive job. So and I had great managers that kind of guided me, helped me understand how to allocate resources. And it is a very special skill that I wouldn't have got otherwise. But it was about 7 years, and I said, you know what? I just got an MBA. How do I use this? I knew I wanted to be in the startup world, but I just didn't know how to start businesses. I didn't know what was needed to make that happen. So that's when the best advice I got was, okay, go join a startup, early stage company. And one of my friends, Sanjay, basically shot me an email. I don't know, it just happened. So he sent me an email saying that one of his previous one of the previous companies, the founder of that company was starting a new business, and they were looking for somebody with my type of skills, and asked if I was interested. So that's how that that interaction came about.
So coming from managing 80 people worldwide, jumping to startup, which with a smaller budget,
Yeah,
that
it
must
was
be
basically
scary.
three of us, the two co-founders and myself,
Wow.
and we had 150,000 in the bank.
Yeah.
And I just took the jump.
Are you not scared?
It was, I think my wife was more scared than me. But there was promise of big things happening with that project. It was a huge project funded by Department of Defense.
Oh, that's great.
And both the co-founders were amazing. One Brian was just one of the best technologists I've seen in my life, and Justin was great at starting businesses and being an evangelist. So like both of them taught me quite a bit. But we ran out of cash in 3 months, and the project that we anticipated would happen kind of took another 7 months.
Ouch.
So we were burning through our savings. But eventually that big project came through and things reset. And once that big investment came in, it was not investment. It was basically a purchase order. So it was really revenue coming in. Then I was able to go set up the team. So I went back and started bringing in some of my best good friends that I knew were really good. So we started putting that team together, and we started scaling out, making the product much better. So I was part of that company for about 5 years. Saw some very interesting things happen. Like I worked with Justin with the fundraising effort that we were part of. So I directly got the experience how to go raise capital, how to go sell the idea to a company, especially when we didn't have any customers. So it's a storytelling, right? So my current co-founder Dustin has the analogy of stone soup. You want to sell, you don't have anything to sell, you don't have anything to give, but you just have a bucket or a vessel and a stone. So now you want to ask other people, like, give me some vegetables, give me some meat, give me some water, give me some spices. So you need to kind of sell that vision, and then the soup happens and you get to enjoy the soup. So it was basically that process of how you take an idea and start selling and getting people excited about what you're building, and then raising capital in the process and growing the team and then finding customers. So that the entire journey was fascinating to me, and I learned quite a bit in the process. And we set up huge sales team, marketing team. So things were good. That company eventually got acquired in 2018 or 2017, and that's when crypto was a thing, like the blockchain projects, that was kind of kicking off in a big way. And I was also dabbling with Bitcoin those days, and I studied the Bitcoin implementation, and I really understood the power of what this was doing. So I met Dustin Byington, who's now 212's co-founder. So he was at one of the Bitcoin conferences. I ran into him, and we spoke, and then he was just getting engaged with another project that was about to launch. And he wanted an operator who could come help him on the business side. So that's how I got in that blockchain world. And that project raised, I think, like 35 million in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds?
In 30 seconds. I think somebody said, I think there's Brad Feld who talks about timing the market. Like you have horrible product, great market timing, you win. If you have an amazing product and bad market timing, you lose 100%. So this was an example of, finding a product at the right time, and the market just kept bubbling up. And that project basically went to like $2 billion in market cap in 7 months.
Wow.
So we were able to see the entire ride. And between Dustin and I, we spent a lot of time making that happen. But that's when we got the idea for 212.
So tell us more about 212.
So the origin of 212 was Dustin and I started thinking about, hey, why is this crypto bubble happening? Okay, that was the genesis behind that. And our thesis was liquidity is what drove the crypto bubble. So anyone could buy at any point of time and sell it when the price goes up. So there's a lot of demand for that asset. And we think we were able to sell that project was able to raise at 35 million because there was a lot of interest because it's a highly liquid asset. So the thinking was, okay, how do we solve that problem for regulated securities? So these are shares in a company that are regulated by SEC and FINRA. Like, how do you make that liquid? And in 2017, there was a regulation called 4A7 that came out that allowed for certain conditions in which these securities could be traded. And the genesis of 212 was, okay, let's go black box this. So let's go build a product that makes that regulation 4A7 become easily available to the board of directors and founders. So today what happens, or until then, you had an angel investor that would come into a company, but they had to wait like 7 years for an exit, or like whenever that exit would happen, right? So this was basically giving an off ramp. So when the value of the asset goes up, the investors can exit the position under certain conditions. Okay, so and it doesn't have to be like a publicly. It doesn't have to be public. It can be in a very in a private setting.
Understood.
So the startup does not have to disclose information. In the public forum, but they just have to disclose information to the participants, and there are rules around it. So 212 was basically built to kind of solve that problem, and we built the technology to make that happen. And in the process, we took that FINRA licenses, started working with SEC lawyers, and we found a very interesting problem in the process. So let's say you sold your shares and I purchased your shares. Now we had to update what is called a cap table with that information. But we wanted that the update to cap table to be seamless from a customer experience standpoint. And what we recognized was that none of the other cap table providers had a interface where we could settle the transaction. So that was a big problem that we ran into, and we started looking more into that space. And it turns out there are like 1.5 million founders just in the US that cannot afford to pay a lot of money for these products. So they end up using spreadsheets to manage their cap table. And spreadsheets are like the first generation mobile phones. It can do some things, but it can't scale beyond that one action that it can perform. So because of which, if an investor were to come and ask questions like, okay, I'm going to put 200K into your company, what's going to happen in the best case, likely case, worst case scenario? What if you do a capital raise a year from now, another raise 2 years from now, and you create option pool? So anyway, these are all the kind of questions that investors want to know the answers to before they invest. And the problem with spreadsheets is they kind of fail you immediately. Like there's nothing much you can do with a spreadsheet. So they end up making mistakes. Founders start making assumptions about what might happen. They might go to a lawyer or a CFO, and things become very expensive very soon, right? And early stage companies don't have that kind of luxury. So we looked at that space and we saw that, okay, it's a massive market. It's totally underserved. And the only way we can help these founders is if we go automate the process. So how do we remove human capital from helping manage this cap table? And that basically led us to go spend the next 15 months codifying the whole thing. So we look at the cap table as a big matrix of securities, shareholders, price, and time. And we build like this many-to-many connection, and we program the whole thing. So now we are able to, our customers can use our product to build any type of models. It's a SaaS solution, and it costs $20 a month. And we don't cap our customers based on number of shareholders or capital raised, number of share classes. So it's just unlimited access to this product for $20 a month. So that is what we were able to achieve. And despite that, we have a huge margin, even though it is $20. We try to give it away for free, but the founders were not willing to take a free product for different reasons. It turns out it's very difficult to sell free product. So, and that's how we arrived at this $20, and that seemed to be the clearing price, and we have founders using it. And then you can't run a business with just one $20 product. So we have other services that we add to our solution, like valuation services, financial modeling, transfer agent services. So we basically bring in a lot of other capabilities around equity management. So as a company scales from a pre-seed to seed and Series A, so they'll want different pieces. So it's like a la carte. They come and they pick whatever makes sense for them. And because we are able to negotiate volume pricing with our service providers, it's still inexpensive for our customers to use the platform. So that's basically what we've done, and it's been a very interesting journey. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of night sweats, but
I just going to say, how's the differences between now the kind of like a first time co-founding a business solely versus you experiencing a part of different startup experiences? How's that compare?
Oh, it's very different, right? So even at Hypori, where I was the first employee there, um, I did have to worry about fundraising. It was not directly my responsibility. I didn't have to worry about who we bring in outside of the engineering team, for example, or when we have to meet certain customers or partners. So like those were not problems that I had to face, or even setting up payroll. Like these were like tactical things I didn't have to worry about. I was just laser focused on the product and building the product and getting it out in the market. But with this, like everything is dependent on either my co-founder Dustin or I. So we had to be directly responsible for filing the taxes or getting some paperwork done or whatever it is, right? So like you just can't let things slip when you're owning and running the company. So and this is what I find with a lot of founders, right? So they're kind of laser focused. You're juggling multiple balls in the air, right? And so you have to figure out, okay, whether you have a company to begin with, then what kind of advisors you bring in, where do you raise capital, what product are you selling, who are the competitors, how do you identify your market, what channel strategy, how do you do marketing? So there's all these different things that needs to be taken care of. And the big problem that I find is founders ignore equity in the process, okay, because they take equity for granted. But I keep telling founders, hey, the biggest, most valuable asset that you have is your equity, because what investors, the way investors think is they care for equity. That's a top priority for investors. Okay, so they want to see how much equity they'll get for the investment they make, and how that equity grows, and what would be their ROI and IRR. So that's how they think about.
Of course.
But founders put that at the bottom of the list. So that's to me, that's where the conflict comes in, right? So they're not speaking the investor language. The investor is really looking for, okay, how is equity going up? But tell me your story about your product, your customers, how you're going to scale, your market size. So that's all important to justify their assumption about how that equity is going to go up. So that's where the tools like 212 basically makes it easy for founders to really pick up on. So the reason I know equity so much is because I build the product and I'm kind of live and breathe the product every day. But it's like taking some course on I don't know, cooking, and if you don't really cook every day, like you're gonna miss the finesse out of that, right? So what I tell founders is, okay, it's very important. Go build your business and do whatever is needed to make it successful. You could get into the equity space and start becoming smart about this, but you may end up ignoring your company in the process. So instead, use a tool that will quickly answer all your questions and give you all the information that you need to successfully raise capital or answer investor questions. So it's always tools that you really want the right tool around you, and that's what we try to provide with 212.
Incredible. Wow. What an impactful story.
Yep.
And Raj, I'm so curious. I love, the journey up this point. I think, you are certainly a person that truly having a great heart to not only taking the journey and learning that you have in your own experiences, but now so passionate about, empowering and supporting other founders to do exactly the same.
Yep.
And I'm curious, in your own experience, what might be the biggest, challenging or mistake that, you overcome, so help you become such a leader today?
So the biggest challenge, it's like multitasking. You really need to get good at multitasking many things, right? So in my case, I have a family.
Yeah.
I drive my wife crazy all the time because there is. I know that I'm kind of not paying attention to so many important things that need to be taken care of at home.
Yeah.
Because I think I mentioned this to, so I don't remember. So the way I think about this is, okay, you have like three buckets, right?
Okay.
So you have the work bucket.
Work. Okay.
The second is your ego, whatever is your passion project, or whatever you think that gives you the satisfaction. And the third bucket is your family. Okay. So you have this 100% that is taken up by these three buckets. It's up to you how much percentage you allocate for each of these buckets.
Yeah.
So usually you'll see most people give like it's not 33. You probably end up taking more for your work and more for your passion, and then it kind of gets in you compromise the family part of that. So they are the ones who usually take the hit when you're focusing on the other pieces. So from my wife's standpoint, it's like, yeah, I do more of that sidelining the family piece, but she comes and corrects me. Hey, by the way, you got to watch out for these things that, okay, you take care of my third son's problem, or my second, my daughter, did you drive her, whatever it is, right? So she kind of resets me very often, and it's a good thing. And I try to kind of find that middle ground. It doesn't happen always, so that's when I hear about it.
Yeah.
But now we also have my mother-in-law staying with us. That's a huge help. So she kind of takes some of the load. But yeah, to me, the biggest challenge was, okay, how do you properly multitask this? And that is where I had to really focus my effort to make sure I don't drop one ball or the other.
I definitely hear you. I think all founders are magician in heart.
Yeah.
And we have not only the work, the family, the passion project, but within work, there are 1,000 different buckets.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And just knowing which thing belongs to what bucket and what percentage, I think at all times definitely.
Yeah. And I think the one trick for me was, if you work on a passion project and that becomes your profession, then you have a much bigger pie. So you can split the whole thing into two buckets. So to me, startup,
I love that.
and that bucket basically became a work. So now I have 66% technically of what I like to do, and it's also work that pays.
Yeah.
So that's one way to cheat.
That is magical. You put it that way, and I think it's amazing that people who just love what they do and they just happen to get paid for that. Like, isn't that such a wonder world?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
So with that, Raj, I'm curious, you talk about, some challenges regarding, maybe balancing things. If you do it all over again, assuming you had this magic wand, like, would you change anything along the journey?
I don't think so. Like, I think I would, I don't think so. There's nothing to change. So I'm not at all perfect. I know that for sure.
No one is.
But I know I'm 100% not perfect. Okay, so to me, I don't even have that. I think that imperfection in me. I want that imperfection in me because that helps me relate to the problems that can happen in the future, or that have happened in the past, and that I'm able to learn from it. So to me, I don't want to change anything because everything happened for a reason. So. If it was an option, like I would like to be born now where there is a lot of access to information, which I didn't have growing up. So I feel that maybe I wasted the first 20 years of my life. Had I had more information, I might have done something more useful with it. But otherwise, super happy and content.
What would you tell your younger version of yourself?
Go start businesses. So like there are so many problems that need to be solved. IBM is not the all for somebody like me. So talent can be used elsewhere to help others in whatever capacity. So the first project at IBM that I worked on was all the networking piece. So this is like late 90s when internet was primitive. So my work was really to kind of empower that piece. So implement a lot of what is called the request for comments. So there are all these standards that smart people think of. And then my job was to take those ideas and make it a reality.
Mm.
So to me, that piece was interesting. So I can tell my kids now, hey, you are using a mobile phone because of some of the work that I did.
Oh my
So
God.
I feel good about
Yeah.
of having enabled that
Yeah.
the ability for me to talk to my mom any time of the day, right?
Oh.
So that piece helped,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, definitely I would tell my younger son, go
Mm-hmm.
start companies.
Yeah.
The people need it.
What drives you, Raj?
I think it is just the idea that when I grew up, I didn't have access to a lot of information. If I want to read anything, it was a 3 mile hike to a library, and these are like ancient books. So to me, it was like such a primitive life that I lived,
I understand.
and even commuting from my hometown in Bangalore to North India, anywhere, like it was like a 5-day journey by train. So the infrastructure was not there. It was just things were beginning to happen. So it was a drive to say, hey, okay, we got to make things better. So I was looking to see, hey, is there any small contribution I can make to kind of solve those kind of problems? So I think that was a constant drive for me. Even today, like I see, okay, there are a lot of founders, great ideas, but either their execution is flawed, or they don't put the right advisors around them, or they're not going after the right market, or they come with some crazy ideas that probably is never going to work. So like I usually end up talking to them and telling, hey, have you thought about these 5 different scenarios? Maybe all these ideas will become big, but right now I can think of like 50 objections for some of these ideas. So rather than them spending the next 3 years learning that, okay, this idea won't fly, like have them at least think through, okay, these objections. So those are the kind of ways that I try to contribute. So kind of speed up the process. Like I think the statistics is about 95% of startups fail.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be that, and most of the startups fail because they run out of capital, or they took too long to get to the market, or they didn't have the right team members. So they're fundamentally flawed situations. Some of them you just cannot help, but there are others that can be resolved. So if you look at, I think there are a lot of stories about even Airbnb struggling to raise their 150K because people didn't believe in it. And Brian Chesky writes a nice blog article about how I think about 10 or 15 VCs didn't want to put 150K for, I think it was 10% of the company. So
Wow.
yeah. So, but somebody believed in that crazy idea that okay, people will be willing to put their house up for strangers to live in, and that's how that became a thing, right? So it's all about crazy ideas. How do you make that a reality and make it? But there are some that are totally outright crazy. So those you can put out your objections and see if they're able to answer these questions. So one example is so there was this founder who's been working on his idea for about 2 years. It was in the blockchain space. He spent 2 years thinking about it, put a team together, raise capital, and then I met him at one of the pitch competition that I was judging, and I asked him one question, and he had never heard that objection before, and it kind of took him aback, and he started pondering about what he did for the last 2 years with that problem that was, to me, it was very obvious. I was really shocked that he went 2 years without anybody asking about it. So I don't know what happened to the company, but that idea would never have worked. So again, those are examples where they haven't thought through all these different scenarios, and there are companies out there.
So what are the top, say, 1 or 2 or 3 things that founders should think about or think through before they go out to execute the idea?
So one is, would people buy into that product, right? So Y Combinator has a stacks. The tagline is build something people want, people buy, one of those things. So really you want end customers who are willing to pay for that product. To me, that is an end state, okay, which is it's a very factual statement, what Y Combinator makes. But if you ask a founder that is coming up with this idea to sell cookies through, I don't know, their mobile app or whatever, right? They don't know if end user will want, right? So they still don't know that. So they haven't got to the point where they know it is a business yet. so from that context, YC's tagline is the end state. It's not the beginning state. So in the beginning state, it's all about, okay, build your product and get it on the market. Like there's a lot of founders, they wait to put the product in the market. They're kind of hesitant whether somebody will steal the idea or whether the customers will bar for that idea. So they're kind of afraid to put stuff in the market. So even at 212, for example, when we launched our product in January, we didn't have support for options. So founders could not give out stock options. We didn't care. So the very first version that was functional, we put it on the market. We had customers paying for it. We had one of the customers come in and say, "Hey, how do I do this option thing?" And we say, "Give us 2 days," and we quickly build the feature in 2 days and then pushed it out, right? So and it's like that. Get it on the market, see what customers say, and you gotta iterate that. So to me, it's all about that. Okay, get it on the hands of your potential customers. See if they pay for it, and then find out what is missing, and then go build it. But at the same time, make sure that you don't want to be pigeonholed by one customer who demands 50 things that only they care for. So there are a few tactics that need to be taken into consideration. But that's where I would encourage founders to go find the right advisors around them. So the team is important. It doesn't have to be just the co-founder, but if you, like in our case, we didn't know a lot of marketing aspects, so we found the right advisor to help us, and he was super excited about what we're building. That he even invested in us.
Wow.
So now he came on full time to help us take us to the next step. So it's just finding the right people around you. So to me, it's all about that. Okay, go have the right team in place. Identify. Again, you need to have insights about the problem. So let's say I would be a bad fit to go find a problem and solve a problem for lawyers, because I don't know that space. I don't have any insight that makes it interesting for me to solve a legal problem, right? So I wouldn't get in that space. But let's say there's a founder who's a lawyer or paralegal who really understands the space, and they found some interesting niche, then they should 100% go solve a problem for that market. So that having that founder insight is very important. And then finding the market and getting the customer, finding the channel to go reach your customers. So there are like multiple pieces of the puzzle that needs to be put in place. But if the founders don't know, go find the advisors who can help them there.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So, Raj, I'm curious, what do you think is your superpower? Because you build one business in another, and today you see so many businesses come and go in front of you. And I wonder, for you, what do you think is your secret sauce for your success today?
I think it is the ability to kind of take some abstract ideas and explain it in a very easy to understand terms. I think that is my unique superpower, like among if somebody asked me that, because I can. So a good example is so I was talking like I think just last weekend my 18-year-old daughter and my 12-year-old son. I need to mention the names. Arjun is my 12-year-old son, and Aditi is my 18-year-old daughter. So we were driving to Lampasas. It was like an hour and a half drive. So I started asking them about, hey, do you guys know what it means by U.S. has a 30 trillion deficit? And they're like, I don't know what this means. So it took me about 15 minutes to kind of explain that situation to them. And they're like, this is mind blowing. Why is government allowing so much debt to be burden on the future generation? So they were able to come to that conclusion really quick. So to me, I think it is about, okay, how do you take a very complex problem and then dumb it down so anybody can understand? I think that's I process data pretty good that way, and I'm able to articulate that in a very simple manner. I think those are that's my only skill, I think.
You have many others, but I definitely agree with you.
Okay.
Quote from Albert Einstein said, if we cannot explain things simply, we simply don't understand it.
Exactly, yeah.
And I could not agree with you enough that, Oftentimes it takes a founder or entrepreneurs, it's really their responsibility to articulate that vision
Correct.
and give the investor, give customer that pitch, that vision,
Yep.
so then everyone else can get a chance to say yes.
Yep, and it happens to me all the time when I have some partners ask me, okay, how do you do this? And I may not know that, so I'll go find out. Okay, how is this done? What are the complexities? And then I try to internalize that and make it easy. And once I internalize this, then it's very easy for me to articulate to anybody. And it's just a technique that I don't know. Maybe I developed that over several years, but I think I do pretty good in that aspect.
I wonder, what do you define success? And with that, Raj, do you think you are successful today?
I don't think so. I don't think I'm successful yet.
What's your definition?
So to me, success is the ability to influence others, not just being egotistical. So about yourself, but how do you help others see the vision and help them in their KPI for success. So it's a process. At least that is success in my language. So that also means, okay, am I doing right by my family? Am I doing right by my colleagues, my customers, my partners? So it's getting there. I'm not there yet. I still feel that, okay, there's a massive gap that I need to still close on. I'm working towards it. But to me, I need to I don't think I'll ever achieve success in my mind, but there might be points of hitting certain benchmark, feeling great about myself. And then, okay, so you didn't do the other 100 things. So it's just a constant drive to go hit certain benchmarks. So to me, that's how I think about it. It's super abstract. I haven't thought about this more than what I just described.
You remind me of what Steve Jobs said. Stay hungry, stay humble. And that's you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Raj, if one day we all be long gone on this planet, what do you want your gravestone say about you? Could be a word, could be a sentences. How does the world remember you by?
He did good. Or he tried. He tried to do good. So maybe one of those things.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yep.
I want to say she lived.
Oh, really? Okay.
I want to live to see it all. See the mountains, see the rivers, see the cities, see all the amazing what is up, everything's down, everything between, all in above. And I think having the experience for me, seeing the journey, seeing the process, meeting incredible people and just creating hopefully massive impact in our own right. That's how we define
I think so if you look at it, everything is a cycle, right? So I'm sure you experience this. So there is up and down always, like it's nonstop.
As always.
And it's just the amplitude might be different, but there's always up and down. So being able to kind of experience that up and down and up and down. So it takes a toll eventually, like, okay, so you know that when you're high, okay, you know what? There's a down, man. There's a down that's going to happen. And when you hit a down, you feel good that, okay, you know what? There's an up coming, so hold on. So it's interesting to me.
Talking about up and down, what drive you to go actually hike? I don't know, 5-7 days up and down physically?
Oh, the hike?
Yes, tell us more about that.
So I was always passionate. Okay, so in end of May this year, 2022, I took my oldest son, Surya, and Aditi, my daughter. So the three of us decided to go on a hike to the Everest Base Camp.
Wow.
This was something that I'd planned maybe a couple of years back before COVID. With my cousin. Or my co-brother, actually. So he lives in Boston. So he and we had planned for it. But something happened that I could not travel. And then COVID happened. So we just couldn't do it. But to me, it was all about, there's this huge mountain called Mount Everest. Everybody has heard about it, but it's a shame that if I don't get to see it in some capacity, coming from India, like it's only few hours away from where I lived. So that was a thought process, and I spent a lot of time researching the hike to Everest. So I was super pumped about it. At the end of May, like a couple of months back, so the three of us landed in Kathmandu, took a flight to Lukla, and then started hiking from there. It was painful, to say the least. So we hiked. Like we had kind of anticipated the monsoon to come in towards the middle of June. And because that's what has happened in the last 3 years. So we gave ourselves this tiny window of the first week of June to make that hike. And for me, it was all about timing with my daughter's school, my son's school, and college applications or whatever, right? So like it had to kind of fit certain criteria for us. So we made that trip. We started hiking. So we did the hike to halfway, like we were about 15 miles or 15 kilometers from Mount Everest. So we saw the mountain. It is massive, it is mind blowing, and the monsoon kicked in. So it came in 2 weeks sooner than anticipated. So we were just drenched. We were just walking in darkness, we were walking through clouds, and it's a scary place because you're just walking along the edge. There's a cliff, and the other side is a big drop. So
why you do it, Raj?
It's an experience. I think I encourage anyone to try it. I think in hindsight, maybe end of November is a good time to go. August, September is a great time, but it's usually very crowded. But end of May is something that I want to wing it to see if that would happen. But it was a great experience. It was a good bonding time with my daughter and son. They did amazing. I think I learned quite a bit in the process.
What did you learn? The biggest takeaway?
To me, it was so every time you're hiking. So we were hiking through clouds. Okay, so I couldn't see like 2 feet in front of me. Right? It was that thick, and we had our headlamps. This is at 12 in the afternoon, so it was that messy. And every time we had like about 15 to 20 pounds in our backpack, and there's less oxygen. So we just kind of trying to get from point A to point B, and it kind of related to how a startup experience is, right? So you are like a core team that is just trying to climb this big mountain. You barely have any oxygen, and you're always kind of stopping to kind of take a quick breath and then keep heading to your destination. So to me, my son Surya, he did an amazing job of downloading all the maps and whatever was needed to tell us our geolocation. So for me, it was all about, dude, how much more? Like, how many more switchbacks do we have to go past? And he would tell us, okay, you got to go another 15 switchbacks here, and then there is 3 kilometers down this way, whatever. So he had information for us in real time, and that's it. So we were able to use that and then focus on our hike, right? So to me, I was thinking about, hey, this is really what founders do. They're constantly trying to climb this big mountain. They're stopping for quick breaths, but they need this information real handy, right? So what are the information? And we think 212 as one of that the tools that the founders would ask, hey, okay, what is this answer? And we give the answer. Okay, now that answer is there. Now they can keep moving without spending time to kind of find these answers. So for me, it was very interesting.
I think you like to conquer. Raj, is it fair to say? I feel like you always someone I imagine you're someone who always loved to set goals, whether it's growing up, want to go to IBM, or one step up to another, setting bigger and bigger goals. Yep. I feel like what drive you is truly having that, not ambitious, rather, I would say, almost like inspiration to acquire next big goals, to serve in a bigger way.
Yep.
That is what is that
I think so too. Yeah, like so to me, the next venture for me will be in the education side. I know that for sure. Even I know there are a lot of remote villages in India, for example, or even in Nepal. There are all these kids out there who really don't know the world outside of where they are. And you have told me your childhood as well, where you had
certain town in China.
Yeah, exactly. and that was your world. And then until you bailed on that location, you didn't know that there was a
To
bigger world.
clarify, I did not bail my location.
Okay.
China's still in my heart.
Okay, sorry.
Full time.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
did not
yeah.
bail. I just go to see a little bit bigger world.
Perfect. Yeah. But you saw that the opportunity was massive once you left that zone. So to me, it's very similar, right? So there are all these children out there. They don't know what they don't know, and showing them that these are all the possibilities. It can do like big things for whatever that population is.
I would love to collaborate because in my heart, I always see, or in my vision board, I always see that opportunity where, enable, inspire next generation. Because I really believe that education is power.
Yep.
And I am someone that, one of the very, very few from my village had a chance to venture the world.
Yep.
And I know in my heart, in my soul, that a mountain girl never meant to come this far. But the fact that I did, I need to come back now, serve in the big world. So love to collaborate, see what that might look like.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I think it's a definite social impact there. It's I know there are so many organizations out there that are kind of working towards it. So maybe their perspective is different. I can come up with a different perspective. So I think
There's so many
always
possibilities.
That's correct. Yep.
So Raj, I want to ask you, what does American dream mean for you? You come a long way just like me, so therefore I wonder, right, today you create amazing success in America, one after another.
Yep.
What's American dream means for you?
So I think America is just an amazing place. Okay, there is so much infrastructure that's available for anyone to start business. It's I know like India is now very different, but when I was growing up, that was not a possibility in India. Like, it was very difficult to start businesses. It was very difficult to raise capital. It was very difficult to recruit talent that would fit within your budget. So there's a lot of constraints. Me growing up, so coming to US really told me that if you want to go build business, go build business. And these are all the infrastructure that's out there. These are all the people who are willing to support your cause. So to me, that was the biggest learning from the American way is go make stuff happen, right? And be successful in what you do. And there's a lot of support structure that's already put in place to make that vision happen. So
Amazing.
to me that was just mind blowing. Never seen that in India, but things are changing in India. But to me that was coming into the US. That was a driver for me.
Beautiful. My last question for you, Raj, is, you are today conquer one obstacle after another and living your American dream still today. What would you advise to share with our fellow entrepreneurs who may be still in the process, still taking the oxygens as he or she walking on the mountain? What would you tell her or him?
It's a lonely battle, right? There are so many founders out there that are going through this process. I'm a big fan of Y Combinator because they're the first accelerator that came to being. They brought in experienced founders to help other founders to be successful. So it doesn't. So my advice is, okay, it doesn't have to be lonely. There is a support system out there. Start reaching out to them, find them in meetups, go to different events, start talking. There are a lot of people out there that want to help, that have gone through the process themselves, made a lot of mistakes, have basically done all bad things that in hindsight they would have hoped that somebody would have given the right guidance. So there are these mentors out there that are sitting in the sideline, willing to give their time. So use that resource. It's very easy now to get that kind of help, especially with internet being readily available. So it's but by the end of the day, go build businesses. I keep telling my kids, you got to go build businesses. So
what do they say?
They're not sure.
Hey, they are so young.
I know.
They just conquered a big goal.
I know. But yeah, I think anyone should go start business. It's or help others build businesses.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think I often like to say entrepreneur is such a spiritual journey.
Yep.
When you own the path, it's just you and the universe.
Yep.
And you're right, it does not need to be alone.
Yep.
And I tell people say Asian are good at math. The math that I like to do is 1 + 1 = 3. When we really come together authentically with my full passion and your full passion, 1 + 1 now equals 3.
Oh, yeah.
So you are alone in your journey, but you don't need to be alone. There are so many another amazing like-minded founder, mentor, advisors along there can always support you. And 1 + 1 = 3, and we can all rise up together.
Super.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Raj, for joining here today to share your journey. I am so inspired, and truly, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here. Thank you.
Of course. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I do. And I cannot wait to see you all next week. Bye, guys.